This is a great experience for Brandin. I mean, 20 games without Steph. And I think you've seen lots of hiccups along the way, but playing without Steph for 20 games is going to expose some of that. So in my mind right now, where he is if he's playing off Steph, off of the ball, if he's playing more of a secondary ball handler role, he's really good. He does a lot of things that other players don't do. He's got a knack. When he tries to be too on ball, you see him get into some trouble.
Brandin, what do you feel like flipped in the third quarter?
I think it had a lot to do with the second quarter down the stretch. We had 3 possessions where we turned it over. A couple of them in transition.
6 players on the Golden State Warriors combined for a total of absolutely 0 points scored, shooting 0 of 17 from the field for an entire 67 minutes. After squandering a 13-point lead on the Denver Nuggets, the Warriors lost in blowout fashion, essentially cementing their position as a 9th or 10th seed play-in team. They also likely cemented themselves as a below 500 team for the first time in, well, excluding the year 2020 when Steph Curry was out for the entire season due to a contact injury. The last time the Warriors were a losing team was the 2011-2012 season, when they drafted Draymond Green, right before the Warriors took off in the Stephen Curry era. The fact that the Warriors are back here paint a grim outlook as the team struggles with a major identity crisis. Every day that passes by, the clock is ticking on Curry's age, health, and availability. And after every tick, despite the trades, despite the improvement in the likes of Guy Santos, it becomes more and more apparent that this is still a team filled with inconsistent players that were snatched up from the G League, and there isn't much substance behind them until Steph returns. And in the middle of all this, Brandin Podziemski. Check ball. As Jonathan Kuminga becomes dimmer and dimmer in the Warriors' rearview mirror, and Kristaps Porzingis tacks on yet another game to his yearly total with 29 minutes played at that, the Warriors' identity is becoming as clear as it is not. While we're seeing the team become, well, whatever it is we're seeing at the moment, it still has its moments, like that coming out strong in the first half and making the Nuggets look pretty pathetic up until late in the second quarter. The fact of the matter is, though, that this team is still a sub-500 team without Steph Curry. While they ripped off 3 wins before this loss to Denver, not only did those wins come against the Nets, Wizards, and Mavericks, all 3 were clutch games with the Mavs matchup going to overtime. Now think about that for a second. If the Warriors are struggling to match up against teams at the bottom of the rungs in both conferences, what does this say about the group of players currently on the team? I've gone through numerous videos detailing why each player is helping or hurting the team, even giving Steve Kerr his fair share of criticism. I mean, after all, this same squad beat the Denver Nuggets not too long ago without Draymond, but weren't even close in the last matchup. The fact that the game ended with a 36-point swing when Denver didn't have Aaron Gordon, a player who dropped 50 on the Warriors the last time he was healthy, adds even more fuel to the fire that this team has enough talent to compete, but simply can't because they're playing with a handicap. Or 2. But let's forget about Steve Kerr for a minute, and let's forget about Draymond Green for a minute. There is one player that I haven't discussed enough. He's another very polarizing player that the Warriors fan base either hates or loves. That player is Brandin Podziemski. So we're going to be very real about Brandin and what he's been doing or not doing for the team. The last time the Warriors played the Nuggets was on the 22nd of February. In that game, Podz posted 18 points on 7 of 16 shooting from the field and 3 of 7 from 3 while grabbing a team-leading 15 rebounds, 9 assists, and 1 steal in 37 minutes off the bench. The team had a massive 11-point win, scoring 128 points to the Nuggets' 117. In the latest matchup, Podz posted 23 points on 8 of 14 shooting from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, while grabbing 5 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block in 32 minutes as a starter. Now in the first matchup, there were 2 other major difference makers in that game, namely Moses Moody and De'Anthony Melton, who had 23 and 20 points respectively on efficient shooting. Moody was obviously out in the latest game, as well as Melton had a big fat 0 while clocking in at a minus 29 by the final buzzer. The point is, they had a few other things working against them, so this isn't an indictment on Podz being a problem in the Denver game. Now with that said, Podz was obviously playing a completely different role in both games. With Draymond on the floor, he has to be more of a scorer. He obviously can't compensate for Moody's missing offense, Melton's no call no show, Draymond's lack of offense plus whatever he's been giving the Warriors on that end. As a matter of fact, Podz has been averaging 17, 7, and 5 in his last 20 games on 45% from the field and 36% from 3 in 33 minutes. While they aren't all-star first option numbers, they're not bum production numbers either. The average NBA starting point guard puts up 17, 4, and 6 in 34 minutes on 44% from the field and 36% from three-point range in 34 minutes. If anything, Podz is coming in slightly above average as a point guard. This means he's anywhere from 14th to 17th as a point guard in this league, below average on facilitating, but above average on rebounding, a stat that makes him more of a shooting guard, which if we compare him on that scale, he ranks well above average. What this means is that if you put him next to a decent point guard, all of a sudden he starts to look like a better player. But there is one more difference between Podz and any one of the average guards. On average, he's taking 13 shots per game, which is 4 to 5 more than the average. This could be a problem. One of the important and underrated abilities of some of the smartest players in the league is their ability to get to the free throw line. What these numbers are saying is that Podz is coming up short as a facilitator because there are 2 or more possessions per game on average where he isn't passing the ball to become a better facilitator, but he's not scoring the basket. Basically, he's not as efficient as the average point guard on the drive. This is balanced out by the fact that he's only averaging 2 turnovers per game, less than the 2.5 to 2.8 turnovers committed by the average point guard, but right smack dab in the mix for the average shooting guard. So Podz is taking as many shots as the above average point guard, but only scoring as if he is the average point guard. This turns out to be exactly what you're seeing on the floor. As an off-ball 2 guard, this is where he shines. So objectively, he isn't a terrible player. However, his role, which tends to switch between being on ball and off ball without a primary ball handler, makes him seem less competent at times. Not a fault of his, of course, and could be blamed on the roster construction. Who builds a roster for a player on a rookie contract when you have Steph Curry anyway? But this reasoning, where I explained he's not a bad player, also highlights his weaknesses. While it's pretty obvious, it still needs to be said. In his current state, Brandin Podziemski is not a player who can lead this team to the playoffs. In order to do that, he'd have to be close to being top 5 at his position, and that's clearly not the case. That's not to say this isn't possible in the next few years. However, at the moment, he lacks the scoring ability to even be a second or third option on a competitive team as a 2 guard, and lacks the ability to facilitate well enough to be a second or third option on a competitive team as a point guard. He's a tweener. The expectation, at least from a minutes perspective, is that he's the most valuable piece currently active in the Warriors lineup. He's played the most minutes ahead of Draymond Green at number 2. These facts start to frame the identity of the current Warriors. If your team is relying on Podziemski and Green as your 2 best players, getting the first and second most minutes each night, the team will struggle to score. They're obviously better without Green in the starting lineup, but putting him next to Podziemski, who's also a well-rounded and balanced player that doesn't have explosive scoring, is looking for trouble. Now the Warriors do have Kristaps Porzingis, who's shown to be that scorer, and while he's covered that missing scoring that Moody provided, covering that D'Anthony Melton spread was about as likely as Podz scoring 30. Podz has often been compared to Draymond, but with the key difference being his shooting and scoring versus Draymond's physicality on defense. If the Warriors are going to bet on Podz, and I know this won't be a popular take, they'll have to cover up his weaknesses by finding a player who has that physicality on defense, but also scores at a high clip with at least average outside shooting. If the Warriors get a wing player between this offseason and next with those capabilities, then you know where the team is headed. I know this doesn't fit the enigmatic nature of Podz, but that's what it is. Players aren't always black and white, good or bad. There's usually some gray area in the middle. Quote-unquote good players have bad games, and quote-unquote bad players have good games. And depending on what you've seen, what you expect, and what that player delivers, you will likely have a very different opinion than someone else of the same player. The problem is, some people tend to stick with their initial opinion because they box themselves into a black or white narrative, which ironically makes them never truly wrong, but never truly right. The next video will be an update about Omer Yurtseven, so if you want to see that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We also have 4 channel members who get access to special perks that are currently listed when you join, so if you want to be a member, click that join button below. Currently, you get deeply personalized responses, we have a members only area, and I'm hoping to expand that as our membership grows. Otherwise, let me know your thoughts on Podz by posting your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, be sure to click the like button, then click that hype button to help it reach other viewers. Thanks for watching. Till next time, swish.